Hey guys, it's March, and you're listening to Hola Bichola. Hola Bichola. Casa the Dragons. Welcome back to episode 4. Can you believe it? We're a fourth of the way through. Well, it opens up. Where does it open up? Oh, I know exactly where it opens up. We open up with Ray courting. Finally, we get her, we see her in her element, which is an utter disdain for every candidate that comes up her way. She hates each and every single one of them, to the point that she leaves halfway through. She ends her tour in 2 months. And right before she leaves her last suitor, they ended up getting into a duel where a little man from the Blackwoods ends up killing some other tall man he was wearing kind of like a golden cloak. So I would say a gold cloak. No? I'd say so. Anyway, so we're back at the water, and this is where the episode immediately starts to get interesting. And it's been about 10 minutes into the episode, but we know it just goes into utter debauchery once we see Damon, King Paimon, flying over the skies, and Rhaenyra sees him on her boat on her way back from wherever she was. I think she was somewhere maybe like on F-Boy Island or something like that. I that's my guess. So we see Damon flying over the skies, and Ray is just so warm and excited. And I thought to myself, don't do it, girl. That is your uncle cousin. We don't do that. We do not do that. And so now we're brought to the king's room, the throne room, and Damon is walking in, and Rhaenyra is amongst everyone, like, oh my God, who's that? Is that Damon? Is that Damon? Hail, King Damon. And he walks in and he presents himself to the king, and he says, hey, so because I kicked ass at the Narrow Seas with the crab feeders, I've been named king. But I know there's only one true king in this house, and it is you. And so in that moment, I thought, there's no way that Damon is coming here to really give up a crown title. This is a ruse, right? We all smelled a ruse this whole time. So now we're watching Damon basically lure his brother in and get him with his good graces by offering this driftwood and bone crown, as if the king's like, oh yeah, thanks for this crown, mate. But he falls for it because the king really has just like such a he's a big softy, let's be real. He's a big, nothing but a dreamer softy. And he's sitting there accepting his brother, welcoming him back. And here is Ray she is just, I hate to use this word, but she is just slipping and sliding. And now we have the brothers being all, they're good again. They're happy. Everyone's happy. And so we're back outside, and the brothers are having a giggle over tapestry. And Alicent reaches out to Ray, because Ray says she wants to see the tapestry, but she really just wants to get away from the scene. And Alicent is getting closer to her, and she sits beside her, like, well, literally close by sitting beside her. And they're having this conversation, and you can just tell that Ray wants to slap the shit out of Alicent, but she can't. And so I'm thinking, like, what is Alicent up to now? What is she, how is she going to get her on her good graces? But then it seems like they're kind of, I think maybe Ray is trying to get Alicent on her side a little bit by just recognizing that, like, fighting against Alicent isn't going to get her anywhere. So maybe she should just befriend her again, or be easy on her. And so with that, immediately you see them kind of holding hands like, I'm nervous, you're nervous, I miss you, I miss you. Can we be sister friends, sister mother daughter stepmom queen best friends again? And so I thought, am I warming up to Allison at this point? I was kind of like, well, if Ray's taking her back, well, all right, well, it's been what, 6 years now. Fine. I'll warm up to Allison. And so now we are at the red tree, and is Damon and Ray, and they're having a high Valerian conversation. They're just basically talking about the rules of marriage and how it's really just all political. It's nothing about love or passion. It's all political. And he's trying to get Ray to really see a different side to the world and stop being so damn idealistic about everything. And I think it works, because sure enough, we're basically in Ray's room, and she walks into her room and she sees kind of like a bag, and there's a bag with clothes and a little love note that basically shows her how to sneak out of her room in this castle. And at first I wasn't sure if it was Damon, but I wouldn't put it past him. But I just thought, like, who's creating this adventure for her? Maybe it's Allison. Maybe her and Allison finally want to, like, get out of this prison that they're in the castle. But it turns out it's actually Damon, and he's on his way to Ruse. And he takes her out for a good time, a night out on the city. And before this happened, there was a conversation in the small keep between all the king's horses and all the king's men. And they were all just talking about how Cordless is making them sweat. And let me tell you something, for a man that we haven't seen at this place in this time in the small council anymore, he is making these men sweat. And so the biggest thing with Cordless in this time is that even though he's not in this room, he's being spoken of. And the biggest union that you can have between the two houses or in this kingdom is to bring Valerians together with Targaryens, so that the whole kingdom can seem strong again. Viserys's reign can seem like the olden days, as they like to say. And so after that conversation happens, we're back with Ray, and we're in the city, and we're kind of seeing her adventure through like all of these valleys, and watching the jesters jest, and watching the psychics project, and foretell. And she's just kind of seeing how the night in the city really comes alive. And I really wish we kind of got a little bit more, like a wider angle of that. It was a lot of close-ups, which I'm sure for studio reasons. But I would have liked to see a little bit of more well-rounded idea of what the city looks like at night. But nonetheless, the night is alive. And so she's out there dressed like a little paperboy. And we find her with Damon in a Shakespeare in an alleyway. And one thing that like Game of Thrones likes to do is foretell the story that's coming naturally through these kinds of plays in through like gesturing plays, or actors and actresses, the local townsmen's plays. But with this one, you could really see that the people did like Ray. They just weren't necessarily as excited for her as a queen, because of they're used to their ways, where men are kings. They're only ruled by kings. They're not ruled by queens. And so I thought this was actually a good moment for her to kind of get out of her own head and see what the rest of the world wants, and how is she supposed to get the love of everyone, just kind of like Damon was trying to get her to see. And so throughout this whole scene, it's like we're seeing people drink and people have, like, have their moments of sexualities and pleasures. And we cut to Alicent's audience is being requested by the king. And we're seeing this king in his decomposing body, mate with Alicent. And she's in utter just disgust and displeasure, but doing it out of the politics that she has to, the duties of being a queen and being married in this, arranged marriage, if you will. And then we're back to we're back to the brothel, where there's all of these like dark lights and these moments, and you're thinking, will they, won't they, are they gonna kiss, are they not gonna kiss, are they gonna touch, are they just gonna, like, kiss each other's noses, or maybe is Damon going to introduce her to like a woman or introduce her to another man? And before we know it, they uncle and niece cousins, they are just making out, taking pants off, taking unbuttoning or tying shirts, and for a moment there you really think they're about to take it all the way home. They're about to get all the way in, they're about to hook up. But it turns out that, I guess you could say Damon choked. He saw that Ray was too excited and was getting almost like he was seeing that she was getting pleasure out of it, and it wasn't just like torture for her, where, that's Paymon's kink. His kink is seeing you in pain, in utter agony. Instead, she was like, yeah, I absolutely want this between us, which, that's their vibe, I guess. And then he just kind of like stops altogether. I mean, we were all turned off, and I was really glad that someone had to be the adult here and stop this relationship from continuing further before, anyone regretted their decisions. And now he's kind of left Ray excited still with like all of this energy and this rush. And this was the perfect time for her to hook up with Christian, who she was also building all of this like sexual tension with. And then she, Damon abandons her, and who knows where he went. And Ray goes back to her room, and while she's on her way back to her room, we see another little page man follow her, which obviously spy. And she goes back to her room and, basically brings in Christian, and then they're having their whole intimate first time moment for her, umpteenth time for him. But for someone who's never been with another person, she was taking charge and taking full pleasure in it, which is great. We don't often see women taking charge in this way. Not necessarily in Game of Thrones, but just, in general, teenage girls taking charge of their own sexualities. And so to see Ray step into this, I would say it's a really powerful moment for her. And I quite enjoyed it. I was kind of like, all right, girl, do your thing and get your man. But I do wonder now, how will this affect their relationship? Like, is she going to like stage 5 him, where she wouldn't necessarily have to stage 5 him because he's already bound to her? But, it's not like you can't stage 5 enough. I don't think you couldn't stage 5 more. I think there's still room. There's still room to cling even further than what she already is. And so we find ourselves in the next day, and or kind of in between day, and we have the little white worm. I think his name was like the white worm boy. He goes and talks to Otto Hightower, and he's basically telling Otto Hightower, like, pss, 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 pss. That's all we know. And so Otto Hightower was like, yes, yes, yes. You don't say, oh, blasphemous. You don't say. And so he must go tell the news to Viserys, the king, that, your daughter was doing pss, 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 pss. And the king was like, get out of my room. And then we find that this little warm boy is actually connected to Missaria, who was Damon's like old little fling. And who knows what tension is going on between them. But I know she's not keeping him captive, but I guess she's there now. She's back at King's Landing. And I don't even understand, like, okay, I know Damon was drinking, but was he really that drunk? Was he that drunk that he's just like hungover and just basically crawling all over town? So here we are with the decomposing king, and he's basically talking to Allison, or him and Allison kind of like have a moment. So we have Allison and Queen Alicent and Princess Rhaenyra, and they're basically talking to one another. And Alicent is kind of being very combative and accusatory to Rey. And I'm just like, if you want to get on Rey's good side, I don't think this is the best approach, Queen Alicent. I think you're going about this the wrong way. And finally, Rey is defending herself, and she's saying, like, I would never hook up with my uncle. That's disgusting. He never touched me. But that was a lie. I think there was a little fondling happening, but, you know, Rhaenyra never tells a lie. So we got to go with that. And so we have Alicent and Rhaenyra really trying to mend their relationship through the guise of this lie. And I was really hoping at this time that Alicent would start to begin to redeem herself in some way. Like, is she really going to hold it down for Rey? Because this is the time, Alicent. This is a time to hold it down for your girl. Finally, we're back with Daemon and King Viserys. And King Viserys is like, how could you do this to my daughter? You're disgusting. And I knew it. I knew it was a ruse this whole time. Daemon's whole intention was to come and have Rhaenyra be disgraced and then try to take her as his own and get the throne. I mean, Daemon, could you be more see-through? My goodness, you're not even clever. I thought Targaryens were supposed to be clever. Yikes. So next, we have the king basically like, how I should disown the both of you. And then, you know, Paimon kind of like, just send her to me. And he's like, yeah, you thought. I'm definitely not doing that. And so next we find ourselves with Alicent and the king. And now, Alicent, this is a time where you redeem yourself. You redeem yourself in this time. And she is talking to the king and basically telling him Rey would never lie. Why? What does she have to lie about? I mean, come on, king husband. Like, you must believe me. You must believe your daughter. Not me, your daughter. Rey, your daughter. I'm your queen. And, you know, they're basically exchanging words where, you know, King Viserys is saying, hey, yeah, I mean, I guess Daemon does lie a lot, and why should we believe him? And Alicent's like, yeah, he lies so much. And, you know, why would Rhaenyra lie? Like, why would she do something like that? It's beneath her. And I just want to say thank you, Alicent. This is the moment where you truly redeemed yourself. You are holding it down for your girl. Okay, you do support women. And they're, you know, finally we have the king and Alicent agreeing on one thing. Daemon lies and Rhaenyra doesn't lie. And so finally we get Rhaenyra and her daddy, and they're in the same room together. And, you know, I'm hoping that Rey understands what her dad is trying to explain to her. That in this world, the truth does not matter. It's perceptions is what matters, is the respect. It's the balance of being feared and respected at the same time. And if you lose that, you lose the entire kingdom. And so you must be able to think about your perception and put that above your desires. even if it's for your uncle. Disgusting. And so finally, Rhaenyra understands that she is the political headache of the entire game in this kingdom for the crown. And so they're almost having, they're playing their own little game where King Viserys is saying to her, you must marry whoever I choose for you. And I've chosen Sir, what's his name? Sir Laenor Velaryon. And she's like, fine, but you got to get rid of your hand because he's a gossipy little bitch. And we can't have gossipy little bitches on our table. And I thought, all right, well played. Well played. Because, I mean, that was really messy of Otto Hightower. Like, you're just going to come and tell your king that his daughter was hooking up with her uncle after you just basically pushed your daughter onto him. You're losing sight. You're losing the plot at this point. And so messy little Hightower finds his way alone with the king. And the king is like, I've seen your plays. Like, you've literally became a hand within a matter of 5 days from the old king, from the old reign, and from Jaehaerys's reign. You became the hand in 5 days. I lose my wife, and then your daughter suddenly is the one who like helps me. As soon as I name my daughter the next heir, you're already plotting against her and coming up with all of these like messy little tidbits about her. I think not. Thank you for all of your help. Chassé away. It's time for you to go. So he's basically telling him and everybody else in the small council, don't come for my baby. Don't come for my baby. And you know what? At this point, I found myself really enjoying decomposing King Viserys. I really appreciated how in this moment he was standing up for his daughter, and he's like, you're not going to come and talk that shit. Not here. I won't have it. Before I cut your tongue, I'm just going to take away your title, and you can find yourself way back home. You can find your own way back home. It's not on the kingdom anymore. It's not on our tab. And so now we're left with, who's the new hand? Who will be King Viserys' new hand? And I really think it's going to be Daemon. For whatever reason, I think Daemon's going to find his way back into the kingdom by being the hand. And now it's all like under the Targaryen rule or under the Targaryen power. Again, through the courtship, through the marriage between Sir Laenor Velaryon with Rhae, maybe Daemon being the king, this is the best time to look stronger than ever. And then, of course, we end with the sweetest little pro-abortion episode we could ever have. The, I forget what they're called, but the ones with the chains who like do all of the medicine. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. He comes in and he's like, drink this tea so that you can be rid of any mistakes you might have had through your adventures, which kind of does work in her favor because she did hook up with someone that night. It just wasn't her uncle. So she still would have had some consequences from her ovulation. What is that? What do I want to say? From her ovulation. What am I trying to say? Oh my God. There is something that I'm trying to say with it. Anyway, you know, he comes and he brings her this little potion, and he's basically like saying, it's time for you to, you know, get rid of whatever mistakes could have happened from your pleasure conquest, from your first time clouded judgment nights. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the episode. That's basically where we leave it at this time. I mean, it was a great passion-filled episode. I am really excited that only one more year passed this time and not like we didn't jump that many years. So I kind of like that we're back to just kind of moving slow before we like propel. And the next episode, she's definitely going to have been, she might be married and then time would have passed for sure. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode with me today. Again, if you guys have any more questions, any thoughts, hit me up on hbxpod at gmail. You can find me on hbxpod on Instagram and Hola Bichola on TikTok. Until next time.